Here. All right, we are live. Another awesome Ocean Live Q&A, and we were actually Aaron and I are. I'm in Orlando, Aaron's in Texas, and we actually have Christy from San Diego here from SeaWorld San Diego. How are you doing, Christy?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Oh, we are great, and we have so many people in the chat room right now, and we have so many people who are asking questions, and they just want to know about your big news here. But before we get started, we first want to go over the rules for our Q&A. So first and foremost, we encourage lots of engagement. We want to hear from our fans. We want to hear from everyone who's passionate about these animals and the SeaWorld parks, and so we want you to ask questions. We want you to comment. However, negative, bullying, slanderous comments will not be tolerated, and they will be deleted. And anyone posting negative, bullying, or slanderous comments will be banned from the chat room. So just be aware from that. And also, we want you to have fun. And so we want you to ask questions in the chat room on YouTube. Or if you want to tweet at us, tweet at OneAwesomeOcean with the hashtag Killer Whale, and we will answer your questions there. And so now Aaron is going to kind of kick off the questions here with Christy as we kind of get ready. And so again, go ahead and as Aaron kind of introduces a topic, go ahead and ask questions on the topic, and we'll go ahead and talk about that. So go ahead, Aaron, and take it away here with Christy.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Eric. Christy, thank you so much for joining us. I know everyone is so excited to hear all about your beautiful, beautiful baby. So just how about you start with like a really quick update? Like what's going on in the life of a baby whale right now?
All right, well, I don't know who's more tired, Kalia or all the trainers and veterinarians and animal care staff here at SeaWorld. We've been round the clock caring for both Kalia and Calf, and so far I'm happy to report that the calf looks outstanding.
That's fantastic. I'm sure we're all just totally thrilled to hear that. But right now, the calf is primarily hanging out with Kalia, right? At what point does she kind of introduce you guys to the calf?
Well, that's all depending on Kalia. You know, she's a first-time mom, so we're going to take a very slow process and see kind of how she reacts to us being near her calf. Now, she is in the pool with Kasaka, who is the grandma, Kalia's mom, and also Kalia's brother, Makani. So the calf has been with both Kasaka and Makani throughout the whole process, not only through labor, but also birth. So for 9 days, Kasaka and Makani have been swimming around with Kalia and her new baby.
Well, that's really cool, and that leads into another question we kind of have. So how is growing up with another baby like Makani going to affect this new baby?
Well, you know, it's a good opportunity for Makani to kind of see how a mother cares for her calf. But I got to tell you, from a trainer standpoint right now, we're doing our best to keep him occupied. He wants to interact with his trainers, but the priority right now is really on caring for this calf and Kalia. So we're doing our best. Actually, one of the trainers trained a brand new behavior yesterday called a wiggle. So we're doing our best to keep him occupied. You know, he wants to be in the shows, he wants to do the interactions, but for right now, he really needs to be with his family, and unfortunately, that means, you know, supporting what needs to be done for the calf right now.
So we have a fun question from Patricia here in the chat room. She wants to know, do orchid calves ever throw temper tantrums like human children? And how do the moms deal with temper tantrums if they throw them?
Orchid calves, like what age? Right now, this calf, you know, we see her swimming underside Kalia. The calf doesn't leave mom at any point in time right now until they get older. As they get older and they start developing their personalities, then we would kind of see what Patricia's asking about, a temper tantrum. You know, I don't know. It's kind of hard to answer.
Yeah.
No,
it's fine.
A human term, but definitely, you know, when Makani wants attention, he wants attention, and so it's a balance of giving him attention and also not drawing attention to any undesirable behavior.
Oh, certainly.
That seems like a big handful caring for a little baby whale like that. Like 400 pounds of cute.
Yes, a 9-day-old and a 22-month-old. So wow. Yes, we have our hands full, literally.
So with all that going on right now, are you guys doing the One Ocean and the Miracles shows, or are you working around the baby schedule?
Well, we're doing both, believe it or not. Our priority right now is the calf, but you know, we have guests and we want to connect our guests to the animals, and the way that we do that the best is through our shows. So right now we have one Ocean show and we have one Christmas Miracle show. So everything is guided around the baby and mom right now. So right now we're actually back at a pool called our E-Pool. and it's kind of away from our main show pool, but majority of the time mom and baby are in the main show pool, and we'll move them around. Really important within the first, after about 4 days that we start moving mom and baby through all the channels. It really helps the training process to go more smoothly. And also, Kalia likes to be in all the other pools, so we want to make sure we're moving all the animals around. So they're not participating in any shows right now, but we do have to continue our interactions with our other animals as well.
Very cool. So we have another question from it. Holly G wants to know, how are you able to take care of the calf when she is not trained with any husbandry behaviors, and do they learn those through their mother?
Well, she's absolutely right. We're not doing any training with the calf right now. Kalia is taking care of the baby. She's doing all the husbandry behaviors herself. But what we are monitoring with Kalia and calf is we have 24-hour watch right now. We're assessing not only the respiration rate every 30 minutes, but we're also monitoring which side the calf is nursing on, how long the baby is latched on for, and we're also looking for, defecation and urination on the calf as well. That helps us to understand that baby's getting the milk and processing the milk normally. So although we're not training any behaviors on the calf, we're certainly still monitoring the health of the calf right now.
Very cool.
So what do you think will end up being like the first things that you kind of work on with the baby? Will it be stuff that he follows Kalia, like will he take cues from her and from Makani and Kasatka, or will it be more stuff that you introduce to him?
Okay, well you said
her.
he. I want you to
Him
say I call the calf a her because I'm willing it to be a girl. I really want it to be a girl.
Okay, so everyone it's a girl for now.
It's a girl for now. We won't know until the genetics comes back, and we'll actually confirm not only the gender but also the father as well. So back to your question. First of all, we're just going to see how Kalia reacts to how we approach or interact with the calf. That's, as I said, it's really not our priority right now. We want to make sure the baby is nursing, everything looks normal. But when Kalia looks like she's ready to introduce her calf to us, then that's when we might start making eye contact with the calf. We might start offering the calf little pieces of ice cube. The baby's getting all the nutrition from mom, but we do know that youngsters seem to really like ice cubes or snowballs. So we will try to make eye contact, and once the baby looks like he or she wants to interact with us, and of course mom is okay with it, then we'll start some basic training. One of the first things we do is just bridge conditioning and eye contact. So it's basically making eye contact, blowing a whistle, and kind of pairing that the whistle means good and there's some type of reward that's going to come afterwards.
So I have to ask, Christy, what was the birth like this time? What were you feeling? Like, tell us about the labor. Like, we want to know more about that.
Yeah.
Yes, so we've been preparing for 17 months for Kalia's birth, and I got to tell you two things that's really cool. The first is knowing Kalia's personality. She's so vivacious. She waited until we had the biggest storm in San Diego to deliver her calf. So unfortunately, our staff was out in the cold and rain all night long, not complaining. We'll do that anytime.
Yeah.
But it was so awesome because she actually went into labor at 10:20. So most of our trainers came in that morning at 10 a.m. So not only did we get to see her go into labor, but observed her throughout the labor process, which was a little over 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you enough, just the excitement and, the goosebumps, and you just get so excited when that baby comes out. And not just when the baby comes out, but you could hear a pin drop in the stadium because we're waiting for the baby to come up and take its first breath. That's how we know things are smooth. And once that baby came up and took a breath, oh my goodness, everybody went crazy. So yes, very, very exciting. Probably one of the best moments of my career.
Oh, that's so awesome.
That's so amazing. It must be so wonderful to witness. So who's swimming around behind you right now? Is that Kalia or?
Yeah, good eye. Yes, Kalia's swimming around. Let's see if we can get the visual on. Makani's swimming away from us right now, and if we'll keep the shot on the pool. Kalia is coming around right now. She has her calf swimming right below her, well, kind of above her now, and they're approaching us right now. You see her?
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh!
There they are.
Oh, it's so pretty. precious.
Oh!
The calf is 9 days old, and something that we noticed just today is that the calf has actually started to recognize that Makani is another killer whale in the pool. So Makani really wants Kalia's calf to swim with her, but of course Kalia will not allow her baby to swim with her brother just yet. But you see him, he's trying really hard. It's kind of like a human, baby or a human child that's like, Mommy, I want to hold the baby. And no, you're not old enough yet. So, the calf is definitely recognizing Makani, and I can't wait till these two play together. It's going to be a lot of fun. So here comes Makani and Kasaka are going to pass by us right now.
Hi.
So I want to know, what is it like having a grandma in the family dynamic right now?
Oh, well, first of all, Kasaka is my favorite killer whale. She has my heart, and I got to tell you, the day of the birth, this is Kalia's first calf. It was actually Kasaka who brought the calf to the surface of the water for its first breath.
Oh.
This isn't uncommon. Kalia is a first-time mom, so that's one of the reasons why we had Kasaka present along with Makani. So that if Kalia didn't instinctually do what she's supposed to do as a mom, we know we can always count on Kasaka. She's given birth to 4 babies, and she's not only a grandmother but a great-grandmother as well. So she is an awesome whale.
Oh, that's so neat. That whole dynamic is just amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Hopefully we can get a shot here. We'll keep our eye out for some nursing, so you can see some nursing with the baby and Kalia as well. So we'll keep an eye out for that.
So lots of comments in the chat room, mainly like Hunter says so beautiful, Clay says adorable, Stacy says adorable. Everyone is just completely in love with this baby. But Patricia actually asked another fun question of how often does the calf nurse, and what nutritional increase does mom need at this time? So does mom need extra food while she's nursing?
Absolutely. Sorry, I cut you off.
Right, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so a lot of questions there. The first off, yes, Kalia's base, we call it a base, it's the amount of food that she gets within a day. She normally eats about 95 pounds. Right now, she's eating about 130. We're offering her 140 pounds of food, and it seems like she didn't really want 140 right now. So again, we're just going off observation of Kalia and what she wants right now. She can have as much food as she wants, but it looks like 130 pounds is sufficient right now. She is nursing the calf on and off 24 hours a day. To be anthropomorphic, if you look into her eyes, she looks tired. She has to constantly swim and keep swimming with this calf because the calf isn't quite mobile enough to stop or to rest at the surface right now. So she not only needs it for energy, but also for milk production as well. Let's see, what was the other question?
How often?
Yeah, how often does sorry.
Yeah, it varies. We're seeing latchings from 4 seconds all the way up to about 28 seconds at a time. And like I said, it's on and off. We keep track of all this information on a database. So we're able to compare it with other calves. This is our 7th successful birth here at SeaWorld San Diego.
Yeah.
So it's really great information so that we can monitor normal. And right now the calf is nursing in normal rates.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so awesome. So Lizzie Pinter asked, at what age will the killer whale baby begin to adventure away from mom?
What age will they venture? We're already seeing the calf today kind of moving a little bit off to the side of Clay and then coming right back. Again, each individual calf is different. Makani, at about 2 weeks of age, was kind of swimming off on his own and kind of exploring things. I don't know if it's a difference because he's a male and a difference with a female. I'm not quite sure, but it's really up to the calf and mother bond. So right now, baby is right next to mom.
That's so incredible. It is, especially happening around Christmas time. It's like the fact that the Christmas show is called Shamu Christmas Miracle. It truly is a Shamu Christmas miracle.
It's a miracle, baby.
Absolutely.
We are so in love with this new baby, and obviously we could not be more proud of you guys and how you guys obviously care for these animals day in and day out. And so we want to thank obviously everything, thank your guys' hard work and everything you do, because it's pretty incredible.
Well, thank you to you, Awesome Ocean. We really appreciate your support. It means a lot.
And let's see if we have any people ask tons of questions here.
Okay.
But Aaron, did you have a final question for Christy?
I just saw one that was in here a little bit about Hunter actually asked that about what since the baby doesn't need as much fish, like as much nutrients from the fish since it's getting so much from mom, when do you kind of start to introduce some of those secondary reinforcers like the ice and the jello and the rub downs and all those kind of things?
Okay, well, first of all, the baby isn't eating any fish. The baby is getting
Yeah.
all of its nutritional needs from mom. So, the baby is nursing and getting milk from mom. The milk is about 45% fat. We will
Oh.
start off, yeah, we'll start offering fish when it looks like the baby is, making eye contact. And at first, they typically will take a fish and spit it out, what is that? They don't want it. But again, it really boils down to the individual animal. Thinking back with Makani, I think he started eating his first fish around 2 months. But again, it's really up to the baby.
Yeah.
There's a good shot of the baby. But I will tell you, Makani's 22 months, and he's eating 32 pounds of fish, but he's still nursing from casaca.
Oh my
And
God.
then, believe it or not, those secondary reinforcers, like I mentioned earlier, the ice cubes,
Yeah.
oftentimes we start using that first because, the babies aren't eating any fish, but they seem to like to play with the ice cubes. And
That's
Did we freeze? Okay.
yeah, we're good. So,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that is just again, it's so awesome. Like I said, it is just a complete Christmas miracle, and again, to have this time with you guys to be able to talk about the baby has been absolutely incredible. And so, thank you again, Christy, so much for your time, and thank you for sharing, these amazing animals with us.
Yeah.
well, thank you, and hopefully all those people out there will have a chance to come down here to SeaWorld San Diego and see this baby before it gets too big.
We agree. Everyone has to see the baby.
Everyone go
live.
see the baby.
Gotta see
Look
the
how
baby.
precious he or she is.
Oh, thank you again, Christy. We're so grateful for everything you do.
Yes, thank you. There's a lot of people that are inspired by you. A lot.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That means a lot. And it was great talking to you, too.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, Aaron, that was so incredible.
Oh, was that not the coolest? Did you see those little flukes? They just
Oh,
goes right by. I'm like, ah.
so amazing. So we have a special guest who's joining us any moment now.
Waiting.
So
Yes. So
waiting.
what would you guys tell us in the chat what you thought of that
Yes,
beautiful,
yes.
beautiful baby?
Yes, tell us what you think of the baby. I am like just watching the baby swim with mom. To me, is one of the most incredible feelings. Incredible sights that you can see. It's just so amazing to see that.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so funny because when human babies are born, they really are very dependent on the mothers and very much, they need the mothers to feed them and to move them around and everything. But these little orca babies, they're born and they swim to the surface. Like it's really incredible. They're born knowing how to swim. Like how cool is that?
It's just so absolutely incredible, and yeah, again, it's just reasons why we all love SeaWorld. SeaWorld brings, because reality is, we would have no knowledge about orca gestation, orca birth, anything without SeaWorld. And
Eric, I saw a couple of people talking in the chat about like the cycling of killer whales, and that's all information we've gotten from SeaWorld because SeaWorld has the ability to, with the female orcas, request a urine sample. It's a voluntary behavior, and then test that and see where the animal is in her cycling process. And all that data, all that information, years and years of consistent data, that's all from SeaWorld. We can't get that from free-ranging animals. It's not possible. You can't get consistent data like that. I mean, you can barely get blood samples like that from free-raising animals. And with SeaWorld, you can request a non-intrusive blood sample every week. It's just such a resource for these animals and for knowing about them and for learning about their biology. And if you don't know about their biology, how are you supposed to implement policies that will protect them in the wild? You can't do so.
No, and you bring up some great points. And again, it's the fact that these animals are ambassadors for their species, and I know from myself, like here in Orlando, it's been amazing. I remember when Micaiah was born, and just what
Oh,
an
Micaiah.
amazing experience. He's been such a gift to all of us, and I know I'm so personally grateful for all the experiences SeaWorld has given me, and to be able to listen to Chrissy talk about her passion and listen, these are people who live with these animals 24/7, Oh, we have Bridget!
Hi,
Everyone! This is our
Bridget.
special guest, Bridget.
Everyone
Turtle
say hi,
Dana.
Bridget.
Hello. Sorry, I'm on a non-Mac computer right now. It's driving me crazy.
So
I
we have
feel you.
so we have Bridget on because we are not done talking about babies, and so
No.
we want to
for species, and I know from it
Bridget,
myself.
Wait,
mute your-
Bridget, I
mute
think you have the playback
mute
on.
your YouTube screen.
Amazing experience. He's been such a gift to all of us, and I know.
My voice is a curse.
I know.
And
Can't hear it.
Let's see here, Bridget. Bridget, can you close the YouTube window for the video that's playing?
Is that what that is? Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Like, what
There's
the
a delay.
hell?
Yeah.
You guys see me? I'm like, what? Wow, that's neat. Okay, closing it. Closing it. There we go.
Yay!
Yeah. So
Take two.
so as Bridget was a whale trainer at SeaWorld Texas for over 10 years, she actually has some really great baby Shamu stories. And so we wanted to talk to Bridget about the baby killer whales she worked with and some of the really fun and adorable stories that she experienced. So Bridget, what baby Shamus did you get to get to love?
I got to work with Halen, and then I got to work with Sakari, and both of those were such different experiences. Halen was actually the first killer whale raised by us, and that was kind of like we were learning how to take care of this killer whale from birth, and that was one of the coolest things because from the moment she was born, we were in the pool with her, and we were there, and every single day, 24 hours a day, around the clock, we were taking care of a baby whale. With Sakari, we got to see Takara take care of Sakari, and that was, Christy said that, Kalia looked tired, and I think of Takara, just all the swimming and just that look in her eyes of, I'm exhausted. And I think of right now, new baby, I'm exhausted, but it's all
So tell us now. Sakari is probably, I always heard from Texas fans about how adorable Sakari was. I didn't know how adorable Sakari was until I went to Texas, and she's this adorable little whale. But were there any kind of fun stories of Sakari as she was growing that you can remember of maybe something cute or adorable she did?
Well, I was playing hide and seek with her, and I was going back and forth between running in front of the glass and hiding behind the wall, and I jumped out, and I actually scared her. I never thought you could scare a killer whale, but I popped out, and then she's like, ah! And went off swimming. So I learned that sometimes I get a little too spastic. But, baby whales are awesome because training is amazing in and of itself, but when you work with a baby, you get to build the history. You get to teach them that learning's fun. And being there from day one and being able to show them how to learn, it's amazing. So, and you just get to see the little glimmer in their eye when they start to get things. When they find their voice, I'm thinking of this right now because Austin has found his voice and he's just chatting all the time. And then I think back to when you would see bubble trails with Halen and bubble trails with Sakari because they figured out how to vocalize, and then that's all they want to do the entire time, just yuck, 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 yuck. It's just awesome. And all those little things that, you have a more experienced whale, you come over to Shamu and all the whales know hand targets, all the whales know bows, these are already done for you, but then you get to teach that to a baby, how to touch your hand, how to follow targets. They get it, you're like, okay, I have to teach them how to do this. It's a lot of fun.
So what is that feeling though when you do get to successfully teach a behavior to a baby killer whale?
Oh, it's awesome. Halen learned, I taught her the pose.
Yeah.
And I figured out really quick, that's another thing babies are good at. They're really good at showing you what maybe you need to work on as a trainer. And I learned that maybe I needed to be a little more variable with my sessions with Halen because anytime I walked up to the pool, she automatically did the pose. She's like, oh, I know what you're going to teach me. We're working, I guess they call it Froggy in San Diego. But I always work on poses. And anytime I'd walk by the pool, she'd pop up and show me her pose.
So I know we were talking a little bit with Christy about like how exhausted the mothers get and how much swimming they have to do and how much nursing and all that stuff. So now at SeaWorld, it's okay if the mom's a little tired because she's not going to run into any sort of danger or any sort of issues like that. So how is it different to have a baby killer whale born at somewhere like SeaWorld or have a baby killer whale born out in the open where the mother's exposed all the time?
Well, I think you've got two pretty good examples in what's going on with J-Pod right now. They haven't had any successful births. A mother died during labor with the baby in the birth canal. So, SeaWorld, Christy mentioned that, San Diego has 7, successful killer whale births, and, each of the parks have their own stories. Obviously, we're there, and, we have experienced mothers that are there to teach, and they have success. Where in the wild right now, there's no cases of a successful birth in some of the more well-known pods.
Yeah, so it seems like there's like a lot of stress on those pods, and that stress ends up with these babies not being successful. And then if you have an environment like SeaWorld, it's those babies have that chance and that opportunity to make it through those really more delicate stages.
Yeah, all those environmental stressors that they're having to face out in the wild, ultimately it's going to have an impact on the pregnancy. Elevated stress levels in the mother, it's going to have a negative impact on the calf. And, that's what happened with Rhapsody. Obviously, all those negative stressors had sad.
Yeah.
I know.
That was very sad.
I'm like, oh, Debbie Downer, so sorry.
No, you're fine. So,
Yeah, no,
so let's see here. We actually have some fun questions in the chat room. First is, how long does the 24-hour watch last period normally last after a calf's birth? Do you?
Oh gosh, anytime I think to the 24-hour watch, it was at least 6 weeks. With Halen, I feel like we were there for, almost 3 months. Halen obviously being, a different situation to where, we were mom, we were dad. I remember I spent Christmas Eve with Halen that year. So she was, fun pictures from that night. It's just amazing to be a part of something so incredible as a baby whale.
And then Patricia wants to know, what did you learn working with baby killer whales that helps you as a mom today?
Patience. And, to pay attention to all the little things that you can't take it for granted that, like, I know how to speak, but I went through the same process that they are. So when you see little things that, they're doing that's new, whether it be a new sound or they're trying to sit up, that you encourage those behaviors. So really it's just all of animal training all together. You just encourage them, and it's all positive reinforcement and increasing those behaviors.
And then
patience.
And Joe Orca Whisperer wants to know, how do you take a dolphin or a whale's temperature?
Rectally?
Oh, is that how you do it?
Yeah. Not too many times I could think of us needing to do temperatures, but usually you could feel if their mouth was hot. We look at more of behavioral differences, whether it be, slowing down, refusing food, those types of signalments, as opposed to rolling them over and taking a temperature.
So, but that sort of falls into what we were talking about earlier, about getting that data, right? So, you get like the urine samples and you get the cycling data and the blood level data, and that's those temperatures, they just go into like this big book of things we know about killer whales now.
Yeah, respirations, everything. So there's a lot of data from, the decades that they've been at SeaWorld of all the information. And like you said, this has all helped us understand animals a lot more detailed. We get their physiology, we get their behaviors, not from what we see out in the wild, but from what we see at SeaWorld.
And then, let's see here. Let's see
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
I've seen a couple shows because I've been going to San Antonio fairly frequently, and seen a couple shows where we've had baby and mom and then older baby because we have Sakari and Kamea, or Takara's daughters, where they are a little bit disruptive to maybe the more organized show schedules. Do you have any stories of disruptive babies? And
Well, with Sakari, I know that when we would use, this is when we were still doing Believe, when we would use Takara for the opening sequence, we would send a trainer out there to get Sakari as well because, obviously she's going to follow mom and, she's just wanting to be right there in the middle of it too. Particularly when she figured out how to slide out, and that was like the big thing that she's like, look what I can do. So we always had to make sure we had a trainer out there to kind of keep her entertained while mom was, her trainer. But babies are fun,
Yeah.
They could decide that, oh, I'm going to go and do every single aerial behavior that every whale is going to do. I watched Sakari do that a couple times where a whale would go on an alien, she'd take off that way, and then mom would go do a back dive, she'd take off that way. She just wants to be in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
Babies are fun. They're like little sponges, You're building a history with them, and they're trying to take everything in, and you get to be a part of it. You just kind of like hang on and go for the ride with them.
That's so incredible. That's
Big is, Halen particularly, I remember the first time we brought her out into Sea Pool in a show context. So she had been out in the front pool on her own, and we had been working on her bow positions, and this was the first time that we were taking her out and there was an actual audience. And so I think Steve was on the mic and he was explaining to the audience what was going on and that this was a training session and we're teaching Halen how to jump. And when she came out, the audience like, oh, wow, this is so amazing. Well, all the noise and cheering, she was like, oh, and went to the back pool. So it took us a little while to get her back out, but that was a context shift. She hadn't been out there with all the people, and then she figured it out. Okay, they're just cheering for me, and we got to show her off, and she did her 3 POW positions and did a great job. So
yeah. No, that's so. What is it like too when the babies first? When a killer whale has graduated to the point where they can actually do their first show, like what is that? What is like? Do they have like a reaction to like the crowd and everything, or is there what is that experience like with the babies?
Well, Halen definitely she heard the noise and was unfamiliar with the noise and had a slight response and then came right back and learned to love the noise.
Yeah.
Sakari watches people in the audience, or she did when I was there. It's all enrichment. Just a bunch of people out there doing crazy things, and they're, oh, what's going on over there? It's fun that it's a challenge too, because now you have all these new distractions and a little baby, and you're wanting to keep your interaction positive and keep their attention, so you've got to make sure you're reinforcing and the most reinforcing thing in the stadium, and it's hard to do that when everything looks wonderful to a baby killer whale. So it was like success. If you had a baby stick with you the entire show segment, you're like, awesome.
Oh.
God.
Oh. That's so incredible, Bridget. I love hearing your stories. You have so many great stories of your time at SeaWorld, and I just love hearing, especially baby
whales. I remember probably one of the first times that I really felt like a connection. It was when Halen was in the back area, and we were just, we had just moved her. She was little bitty. I think maybe she was a week old, and she would just swim, because that's about all babies can do until they figure out how to move their pecs and stuff, and surface rest. And she would swim, and I would sink down. I had on just a snorkel and a mask, and I would sit down at the bottom of the pool and watch her swim by. And she'd come by again. I'd sink down and watch her swim by, and then third time she came around and I sank down and she just stopped sat there and looked at me, and I'm like, oh my god, okay. And I just sat there and I looked at her too, and we just sat there and we stared at each other, and I don't know how long it was, but I finally, I started coming up to the surface because I'm thinking, okay, I kind of have to breathe now. I can't much longer. And as I popped up, I think Carly was spotting me, and she was like, I I was worried about you. I didn't think you could hold your breath very much longer. I didn't know what was going on. But, it's just that moment of being underwater, seeing this baby whale, and eye contact, and just that connection. It's just one of the coolest things, one of my favorite memories from working there.
Aww. That's really sweet.
Memories.
So sweet. Oh,
and those babies love their playtimes too, right? You were talking about playing hide and seek and stuff like that, and jumping around and.
Oh yeah, and I'm one of those trainers that I really, as a trainer, you kind of have to put your ego aside and be willing to do just about anything for the animals. If it's reinforcing, you got to be willing to do it, and if that means dancing a Napoleon Dynamite dance in front of 5,000 people, you got to be able to do it. And I have no pride. I'll do whatever the animals will enjoy, and whales really respond to that. Really, all the whales responded, well to just cutting loose and having fun. So
yeah.
That.
Oh, I love that. So, at what point do you feel like the whales begin exhibiting their unique personality?
Oh, pretty quick. I mean, especially with Halen, I feel like we figured out pretty quick that she was just this spunky little whale, and it was just fun to kind of get in the water with her, and she'd just be right there with you. I think Christy mentioned that when the whales don't take fish, so they use ice cubes and they use other forms of reinforcement that obviously the whales find reinforcing to start shaping the behaviors and building up that beginning stages of relationship. And with Halen, it was water work. So she would take the bottle better if the consequence of the bottle was us getting in the water with her. So every time we would see her, we would slide into the pool and just rub her down and hang out with her for a little while. And then I remember we were trying to teach her. She moved up to Shamu Stadium, and we're trying to teach her to move from the med pool through the gate channel into I think it's A pool now. It was B pool back then. They switched around the names, and she couldn't figure out. She wasn't sure about going through that gate channel.
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, well, maybe observational learning. So we would swim through the gate channel to show her. Swim through the gate channel. And I think Katie was the one who she swam through the gate channel, and then finally it was like Halen was like, okay, let's go, and she got into the big pool. And it's just fun to see that observational learning is definitely there. And blow bubbles just like Keith blew bubbles because she was observing him do it. So it's cool to see all these different facets of behavior through the eyes of a baby killer whale. They're just, like I said, they're sponges soaking it all in.
That's so sweet.
Showing a baby killer whale to swim through a gate by you doing it.
That's pretty awesome, though. I think that's pretty awesome.
Stories.
So, also, do you know how they determine what trainers get to work with the new baby?
Obviously, because it's so important, you have to realize you're making a history. This isn't you learning a new whale, starting out a relationship, and you have to be aware of their history. You're creating the history. So obviously, you need to have more experienced trainers. Especially with Sakari and Halen, we would keep our more experienced trainers on them, especially when they started to really working on little things like control, just sitting in front of us, receiving an LRS, all these little bitty the little bitty things in behavior that most people don't think of. They want to think of the big bows, the back dives, those are behaviors, but just sitting in front of me is one too. So we would keep more experienced trainers on there that would be able to make sure that they were reinforcing those things and establishing a good history for the. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we are nearing the end of our Q&A here, everyone. Let's see if there's any last questions.
Not that I see.
No.
Were we going to talk a little? Yeah. Yeah, so this is just this is kind of a cool segment of the new sort of ideas that SeaWorld's been having in terms of education and Skyping and that distance learning. I mean, what do you think about that, Bridget, as somebody that
I love that. I think did y'all put up the video today of in an elementary classroom?
Yes. Kindergarten class.
That's amazing. And, just getting out there and people understanding. I think, when you look at the situation going on with the wrong information getting out there, the best thing you can do is communicate. And by taking SeaWorld into the classroom, they're communicating, what they're doing for the animals and how they're taking care of them, and they're making an impact on those kids. Like, my mom worked at an elementary school, and when I would come over there to pick her up, I'd see all these little kids just staring at me as I walked down the hallway because I was wearing my SeaWorld uniform. And, she kind of used that to her advantage because she would let them know, oh, well, if you don't behave in classroom, Miss Bridget won't come and talk to you about how to train killer whales. So it's an excellent way to make a big impact, and it leaves an impression. Kids are inspired by SeaWorld trainers. It leaves an impact to go in the classroom and to bring the animals and then to show them the training sessions.
Yeah.
Getting the right information out there is incredible right now. I think it's phenomenal. I'm really glad that they're doing it.
So here we'll take one last question from the chat room as we're done. So Dom wants to know, and I'm curious what your point of view is, Bridget, is what have we learned from SeaWorld's breeding program?
Well, I think that we've learned a lot about the gestation of killer whales. We've learned a lot about nursing. We've learned a lot about how much work the moms go into, and also how important it is that, mothers take a role when their baby whale gives birth. Obviously Kasaka was in the pool with Kalia. Takara was a very experienced animal. And, we notice that these things obviously have an impact, that, mothers teach their daughters how to take care of their young. Yeah. And these are all opportunities that we can have to see and watch that we wouldn't get anywhere else other than SeaWorld. And they've got the most successful killer whale breeding program anywhere. So, and now we know how to, when there's concerns about, genes, now we have, the excellent work of Todd Robeck, and that we can utilize other whales and other parks without having to go through the process, which could be stressful, of transporting an animal from Japan to SeaWorld San Antonio. Rather than doing that, we have artificial insemination, we have AI, and this is just all branching out on us understanding, making sure that we're doing what's best for the animals and keeping it fun and safe for them.
Wow, Bridget, you have answered our questions again. We love having you on because you are the killer whale expert, not me, not Aaron yet.
You
and
not
so,
yet, not as much as Bridget.
I'm getting rusty, though. I mean, it's been a few years, though.
We want to thank you again so much for us. And, we do want to make a plug just because we love Mark Simmons, who is also on our live Q&A. But if you have not read the book Killing Keiko yet, go to www.killingkeiko.com and
order it.
Order the book.
We always say it's on Kindle, it's on, e-reader, it's in Barnes & Nobles, it's, everywhere. You have no excuse not to own this book. Go get it. It's amazing. It's incredible.
And Bridget, do you have a plug for the book? You read it.
Oh, my gosh. It's phenomenal. It's just, especially that chapter in this whole debate on captivity, having him answer all the questions that we already knew the answers to. We knew things went wrong. We knew there was an agenda we knew it was because people were valuing their image above the life of animals, and he just answered that for us. Firsthand experience that it was what we knew it was. It was people taking it for granted and trying to push an agenda that was, reckless endangerment of an animal's life. So now we can make sure that those people don't do it again.
I agree. So thank you again, Bridget. Thank you again, Aaron. And thank you again, everyone, for joining. And please keep on reading awesomeocean.com. And we will see you next time.
Tweeting. Thank you. Thank you, Bridget.
And we will say this. Our next live Q&A, which is going to be in January, we're actually going to have a few in January because I can say it now, but the Dolphin Research Center is going to be sharing with us some amazing education and research tools that we can share with all of you. So stay tuned for January. We're going to have some cool stuff.
All right. Thanks, everyone.